adjourned regular meeting to order here for Monday, November 9, 2015. We'll have the flag salute followed by the inspiration by Councilmember Jonathan Sher.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Today marks the birthday of Anne Sexton, a great American poet who lived not all that far away from me back in Massachusetts. And I actually had the opportunity to hear her read one time. And you can sit down. If you'd rather stand, it's okay, whatever. And today, she would have been 87 years old. And I thought I would read this evening a poem of hers called The Fury of the Earth. The day of fire is coming. The thrush will fly ablaze like a little skyrocket. The beetle will sink like a giant bulldozer. And at the breaking of the morning, the houses will turn into oil, and will in their tides of fire be a becoming and an ending, a red fan. What then, man in your easy chair, of the anointment of the sick of the New Jerusalem? You will have to polish up the stars with Babel and find a new God, as the earth empties out into the gnarled hands of the old Redeemer. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. May we have the roll call, please? Councilmember Fair.
Here.
Councilmember Henson.
Here. Present and accounted for.
Councilmember Sharkey. Mayor Pro Tem Breeze.
Here.
Mayor Schnapp. Here we have the agenda in front of us.
Madam Mayor, I move to approve the agenda, but I would like to pull item says it's 7A. Sorry. I would like to pull item 7A off the consent agenda for discussion.
Okay, so there's a
I'll second
motion.
that.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Who abstains? You do, Jim?
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
Okay. So noted. And then we move on to open forum. We're allotting 30 minutes here at the beginning of the meeting, and this is where the council will hear comments on matters not on the agenda. And I do have a couple of speaker cards here. Each speaker, you'll be called to the podium, state your name and address, and you'll have 3 minutes, and you'll notice the timer in front of you.
Madam Mayor, my apologies. Maybe we should do the police officer presentation before open forum?
So item 6A, does anyone have any problems with that? Okay, all right, so then we'll move 6A up to this point. All right, so we're just making a switch here, and with 6A we have a presentation, introduction of new police officers, and so please join us, Interim Chief Bob Albertson.
Madam Mayor, members of City Council, members of staff, and members of the audience. And it's one presentation broken up into 5 parts. And so I can pause between each one and take comments and questions from council, or I can go through all 5 and we can do that at the end, whichever you wish.
You can go through all 5.
Okay. So I'm going to give the oath of office to a new reserve officer. I'm going to introduce 2 relatively new employees. This is the first opportunity we've had to bring them and introduce them to you because of scheduling issues and whatnot. Going to talk about a detective who was nominated for an award, and going to present an officer who was promoted. So if I can have Reserve Officer Jeanette Lujan and Rocky Lopez Sr. come down, please. So this is our newest reserve officer. This is Jeanette Lujan. She is a level 2 reserve officer, which means that she is certified to work under the supervision of a full-time police officer or a duly qualified level 1 reserve officer. Jeanette attended the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department Reserve Academy and graduated in February of 2014. At the academy, she completed roughly about 400 hours of academy training. She started her perpetual field training program in August of 2015. Jeanette also currently works for the police department as a part-time support services technician, and she started her career at the Port Hueneme Police Department as a police explorer at age 16. Jeanette has a bachelor's degree in sociology from CSU Fullerton, and Jeanette's mom, Amelia Lujan, is here to present her with her badge. If I can have Ms. Lujan come down, please. Can you face me and raise your right hand, please? I state your name.
I, Jeanette Levine,
Do solemnly swear or affirm
do solemnly swear or affirm
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States
that I will bear true allegiance to the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California,
and the Constitution of the State of California,
that I take this obligation freely
that I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion,
without any mental reservation or
purpose of
purpose
evasion,
of evasion,
and that I will well and faithfully
and that I will well faithfully
discharge the duties upon which I am about to enter.
discharge the duties of which I am upon.
Congratulations.
Mayor Pro Tem Reese has something.
Mayor,
Jeanette, can you come back down?
Officer Lujan, I have for you here a pocket copy of the Constitution of the United States. Since you just swore to protect and defend it, I thought I'd give you a copy that you can carry with you.
Can I please have Police Officer Henry Montalongo and Dispatcher Julie Ortega come down, please? This is Henry Montalongo. He's our newest police officer. Henry started as a police explorer with the Port Hueneme Police Department at age 16 and served until he was 21. He also worked for the city of Port Hueneme as a parking enforcement officer. In 2007, he was hired as a dispatcher. In 2010, he became a reserve police officer and completed a 400-hour field training program. In October of this year, he was hired as a full-time police officer and was assigned to a 10-week field training program, which he is currently doing now. Henry is currently working towards completing his bachelor's degree in organizational leadership at Arizona State University. So this is Henry Montalongo. This is Dispatcher Julie Ortega. You ready for your speech? Or?
Yeah.
She was nervous earlier, so I told her she had to make a speech. That made me feel better. Julie was hired as a part-time dispatcher in August of 2015. In October, she was promoted to the full-time dispatcher position and assigned to field training, which she is in now. Within the next year, Julie will attend a 120-hour public safety dispatcher's basic course, which is known as the Dispatcher's Academy. Prior to working for Port Hueneme, Julie was an office manager for Safety First Driving School in Thousand Oaks. She's currently working towards completing her associate's degree in criminal justice at Warren Park College. This is Dispatcher Julie Ortega. If I could have Detective Rocky Lopez Sr. come back down, please. On October 10th of this year, Peace Officers Association of Ventura County held their 41st Annual Medal of Valor award ceremony in Camarillo. As part of that ceremony, the Ventura County Investigator of the Year is also chosen. I'm proud to inform you that this year, Detective Rocky Lopez Sr. was named Port Hueneme Police Department Investigator of the Year. and was also one of several detectives nominated as the Ventura County Investigator of the Year. Roque Sr. is an instrumental part of the Port Hueneme Police Department's Investigative Services Division. Detective Lopez Sr. has been the lead detective in solving several complex investigations. I'm going to talk about one of those investigations now. An illustration of his investigative skills was demonstrated as lead detective in a sexual assault case involving 3 different jurisdictions. Roque Sr. immediately assumed the investigative responsibilities for this high-profile case when a disclosure was made involving an 18-year-old victim who reported being the victim of sexual molestation dating back to when she was 5 years old. His investigative efforts guided the way for the Port Hueneme Police Department Investigative Division to investigate this case and find an additional 4 victims countywide. In August of 2014, the 18-year-old victim reported she had been sexually assaulted by her mother's ex-husband. The abuse started when she was 5 years old and continued to the age of 11. The first incident occurred in the city of Port Hueneme, but as the investigation unfolded, Detective Lopez Sr. found that other incidents took place in the cities of Santa Paula and Ventura. Numerous interviews were conducted, and through these detailed interviews, coupled with a lot of compassion, it was determined that a family friend and 3 of the victims' half-sisters were also sexually assaulted by the same suspect. These crimes had gone unreported for years. Key elements of Detective Lopez's investigation included gaining the trust of a reluctant witness in the case and convincing her to testify against her own father. Ultimately, through the investigative efforts of not only Detective Lopez, but the whole unit, the suspect was arrested and charged with 4 counts of continued aggravated sexual assault of a child under 10. The suspect was found guilty and received 3 sentences of 15 years to life, where all 3 sentences are to be served consecutively, which means they'll serve them one after the other. In addition, he was sentenced on 5 counts of lewd acts with a child under 14 and sentenced to 16 years in prison to be served consecutively with his 3 life sentences. It should be mentioned that the suspect is currently 65 years old and was arrested by Detective Lopez in September of 2014. The families of the victims were extremely appreciative of the efforts put forth in this case by Detective Lopez and the rest of the detective unit. Basically, the investigative commitment that goes into a case like this would be the equivalent of what you would see in a homicide investigation. I commend Detective Lopez Sr. for an award and a nomination well deserved. If I can have Senior Officer Roque Lopez Jr. come down, please. This is Senior Officer Roque Lopez Jr. On August 20th, he was promoted to Senior Officer and is currently assigned as a beat coordinator for Beat 1, which encompasses the area from Triton Street to Victoria Avenue on the west and east, and Hemlock Street to Channel Islands Boulevard on the north and south. Being the beat coordinator for that area is a full-time job. Prior to being promoted, Roque volunteered to assume the extra duties of handling Beat 1 after another senior officer retired. Throughout the years, Roque has maintained a high level of commitment to the safety and well-being of the citizens of this community. Roque is a 13-year veteran of the Port Hueneme Police Department. He graduated from Oxnard High School in 1998 and began his law enforcement career as a reserve officer for the Port Hueneme Police Department in 2003. He was hired full-time in 2004. One unusual fact about his family is that his father, Roque Lopez Sr., started as a reserve officer for the Port Hueneme Police Department in 2006 and restarted. He was a reserve going back years ago into the 80s. Restarted as a reserve officer in 2006 and was hired as a full-time officer in 2010. In addition, Roque's son, Andrew Higashi, is an explorer with the Port Hueneme Police Department. Roque is a certified drug recognition expert. He has also excelled in training in the areas of standard field sobriety testing, critical incident training, interview and interrogation techniques, clandestine lab investigations, parolee contacts, fraud and forgery, and patrol search warrants. He has served as a K-9 officer, a special problems unit detective, and a field training officer. Roque is consistently one of the department's top producers in self-initiated contacts and arrests. He is known by his peers as a true team player and has been a mentor to many young officers. He is often complimented by the Ventura County District Attorney's Office for his case preparation and courtroom testimony. Roque is a consummate police professional whose superb follow-up investigations and courtroom testimony has led to the successful prosecution of literally hundreds of criminals. His peers describe him as the guy who always gives 100%. Roki goes out of his way to assist the citizens of Port Hueneme and his coworkers. He is often described as an officer who always maintains a great attitude when dealing with the public and his peers. In addition to his duties as a police officer, Roki serves as the president of the Port Hueneme Police Officers Association. This is an extremely difficult office to hold, and the fact that the POA membership has elected him to this position speaks volumes of how well respected he is by his peers. In September, Roki was chosen to receive the Hueneme Bay First Responder Award. Officer Lopez Jr. is married to his wife Grace. He has 3 children and resides in the city of Camarillo. Thank you. With that, I thank you for your time. If you have any questions or comments.
Thank you, Chief Albertson. Are there any comments or questions? Yeah, Mayor Pro Tem Breeze.
Yeah, Officer Lopez Jr. has received numerous awards over the year, very well deserved. We're lucky to have him, and we're lucky to have all our police officers here at the city of Port Hueneme. I personally thank you all for the fine job that you do. Port Hueneme wouldn't be Port Hueneme without you folks, and your efforts are very much appreciated. Thank you very much.
Any other comments? Thank you, and congratulations to those that were recognized tonight. And Chief, you have a good team. Thanks. All right. Thank
Very
you.
proud.
Thank you. So we come back to open forum, and I do have some speaker cards. You'll have 3 minutes each. State your name and your address when you get to the podium. I'll call the first one up, followed by a second, so that the second person can be prepared. And we allocate then 30 minutes at this point. So being that I need the timekeeper, we'll wait maybe a minute or two. We'll start with Tracy Sisson-Phillips. So when Michelle gets back, we can start. So Tracy will be the first speaker, followed by Melissa Fuchs. So come on up.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, City Council. Tracy Sisson-Phillips of the Hueneme Chamber of Commerce. Just wanted to come in this evening and give a quick update on chamber activities. We are continuing our network education breakfast series this month on the 18th with the State of the Port. This is one of the 4 annual states that we do during the course of the year. And then we'll finish out 2015 with our Ho 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 networking and White Elephant gift exchange at the Chamber on the 3rd Wednesday in December. Looking forward into 2016, we will have Captain Yankee from Naval Base Ventura County providing the State of the Navy address on February 17th. December 3rd marks the 3rd annual holiday tree lighting here on the lawn of City Hall, and my thanks to staff who have been working, city staff who have been working diligently with the Chamber to prepare for this annual event. The Chamber held its last Sunset Supper event this past October 13th, and the event this year was held for the full 8 months of the season, April through October, well received by the community. We've gotten numerous requests to bring in more trucks and varied truck variety. The live music provided this year by the Chamber was very well received and much appreciated by Surfside Seafood, who is also a great partner this year as we continue to push forward with the Sunset Supper event. Again, my thanks to staff for providing assistance in opening doors to make this event successful for our community. And then the final looking forward note I'd like to make is for the annual Chamber of Commerce Community Awards Dinner, which will be held in late February, where we will honor our Citizen of the Year, Business Person of the Year, along with other recognitions for Police Officer, Firefighter, Educator, and Military Persons of the Year. Thank you so much.
Right, thank you. And we have Melissa Fuchs, followed by Sharon Clores. Thank you.
Good evening.
So state your name and your address.
My name is Melissa Fuchs. So you're very close, but not quite on. My mailing address is P.O. Box 404 here in Hueneme. I've been a member of this community for the past going on 11 years. I also work in the community. And I came in this evening to specifically talk about the special meeting that you all held back on October 30th. It was televised on KADY. And I've watched it a couple of times, most recently just this afternoon. And I have to say that after watching it for the third time today, the only word that I can use to describe what I saw was disgust. You are a council in ruins at this point. And from what I saw, it seemed very clear to me that there's a clear divide, 3 against 2. And unfortunately, the 2 that are kind of being pushed to the side happen to be our 2 newest members that may have some of the freshest ideas to bring to this city. We are a bit of a laughingstock in some parts of this area. I know many people in the base, and I have some command master chiefs coming to me saying, what the hell is going on with your city council? What they saw was disgusting. And I'm sorry, but from what I saw, you have some very serious allegations brought up. Violation of the Brown Act, things of that nature that were not even addressed in this special meeting. And your facilitator, who's supposed to be impartial, was a joke. I've never heard or seen somebody feed into people as much as this man did. Talk about putting words in somebody's mouth. He did a really good job at it. It's just really sad to see. I think that Councilmember Hensley and Fig, although I understand the need to stay to finish a session, I give them kudos for both removing themselves from a toxic situation, because they seem to be being a bit ganged up on. I think that our 3 veteran members that have been here for quite a while may feel a little bit threatened, and that's sad. I'd like to remind you guys that, when the time comes to be voting in new members, nobody up here is safe. You might want to embrace who you have to work with. You all should be working to make this community better and safer and more community friendly.
Excuse me. We can't have any outbursts, whether it's for or against. That's going to be the rule, and that's what council has adopted and has on file. And if anyone has anything to say, you're more than welcome to fill out a speaker card. Thank you.
Am I going to get an additional 20 seconds?
Go ahead, 20 seconds.
And I would also like to kind of point out that, although there seems to be some personal gripes between council members that should be held outside of this forum. And from what I saw, when you have one particular person feeling as picked on and almost maybe as threatened that they felt the need to leave, and you have another Councilmember Sharkey to be exact, that sits there and laughs as somebody's walking out and throwing some serious allegations, that's stomach turning as well. I think you guys need to take a really good hard look at stuff and look at yourselves in the mirror, and maybe it's time to come together. This community needs you guys. We certainly need some new blood. And everything that they've brought to the table so far has been nothing but for the good of this community. It would be really nice if the other 3 members would open up their eyes and realize the same thing. Thank you.
All right, thank you. So we have Sharon Cloris, followed by Richard Kohler.
Good evening, Mayor Schnaps and Pro Tem Mayor Douglas Breeze and fellow council members. My name is Sharon Claris, and I not only work in this beautiful, friendly city by the sea, I also reside here. I've been a resident here for over 30 years, and like I said, I not only work here, but I do reside here, and I have the opportunity to tell you about a great event that's happening, and it's actually going to kick off after your tree lighting ceremony on December the 5th. Ocean View Pavilion Performing Arts Theater is proud and honored to present a free community event, and in hopes that all of you will be our special guests. And we are bringing in the Air National Guard Band of the West Coast on December the 5th at 7 o'clock. and wanted you all to know about it. I've got tickets here. Tama Fig was kind enough to provide free parking in Lot E for anybody that is interested in going. So it's going to have actually a 30-piece concert band. It's also going to have their jazz ensemble band. It's going to be a great way to kick off the holidays. We've got the tree lighting on December 3rd. This is coming in on December 5th. And tell your family and friends. I just want to give you a heads up what's going at Ocean View Pavilion. Yes?
The date of the event, please?
Is December the 5th. It's a Saturday night. It's 7 o'clock. And I do have tickets for each and every one of you. We are allowing 4 tickets for every household. And you're more than happy to come to our box office and get them up any time that you'd like. Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you for your time. And I'm going to go ahead and introduce you.
So we have Richard Kohler, followed by Charlie Barton.
Good evening, Richard Kohler, 430 Shoreview Drive, Port Hueneme, California. Hi, I just moved down here to Surfside. I just retired from the Los Angeles City Fire Department, and I just want to talk about our lifeguards and what I witnessed a few Sundays ago. I was out on the pier and our beautiful beach, and I could tell that the summer was over because the kids were back into school and the lifeguard towers were gone. But it was still a summer day. It was hot and humid, so we had a lot of people at the beach, hundreds of people at the beach. And I could tell it was a very rough day. And I'm out on the pier, and I witnessed 6 people get sucked out in the ocean in a rip current. And they did the exact wrong thing. They all tried to swim in. They got tired and spent. So here they starburst. There's 6 people in the ocean screaming for help, and nobody could help them. And amongst them I saw what I thought was a lump of seaweed, but it was an 11-year-old girl face down who was drowning. So we really need to have our lifeguards out there if we could during conditions like this when we have hundreds of people at the beach and a lot of children, and a lot of people in the water. I knew it was a design for disaster in the morning, and I could see how big the surf was and how rough it was. So anyway, the incident unfolded, and I was about ready to jump in the water when the father jumped in and got his daughter. But this is about 911 was called right away, which is the right thing, of course. But by the time anybody got on scene that could make a difference, which was the harbor patrol in a boat, it was about 15 to 20 minutes into this incident. At that time, as you know, 8 to 10 minutes after you stop breathing and get oxygen to your brain, biological death starts setting in, and you could have irreversible brain damage. So anyway, it was a horrific day, a horrific scene, especially watching this 11-year-old girl for about, I witnessed, 5 to 7 minutes floating in the water. And the poor father, you can imagine what was going through his head, going in after his daughter. So if we could, it would really be good in the near future with El Nino. We don't know, at Christmas time we could have a 90-degree beach day and hundreds of people once again at the beach. And we always have rip currents out here, so there are people are going to get caught in rip tides once again. And in my career in the fire department, I spent a lot of years in the Palisades in Venice with lifeguards. These guys save lives all the time. They run down the beach with their lifeguard buoy and their fins, and then we lose track of them. They go out in the water, and 20 minutes later or 15 minutes later, they come in with people, and we just take it for granted. But they're saving people from drowning, so we really need them out there. Because witnessing what I witnessed was horrific. You know, but everybody got there in a timely fashion. But in a scenario like that, we need our lifeguards. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, pardon? Yeah, so Port Hueneme is one city that has lifeguards from Memorial Day through Labor Day, every day. And we did talk about this at the last meeting that we had, not the Saturday one, but the one before, considering some options. So thank you. Yes, yes. And they're out there now. Yeah. Okay, so we have Charlie Barton, followed by David Deutsch. So come up and state your name and address, and you have 3 minutes.
Charlie Barton, 226 Willowbrook. I don't do this very often, being in construction. But it was disturbing, like the other lady said before, about the council meeting and stuff. We were here a couple meetings ago when there was voting on the budget and stuff, which I thought was not too good, only because halfway through it, there was a lot of items on that board up there that was just kind of porked in there. That wasn't part of the budget voting, if you guys remember. I remember kind of sitting there going, oh, was that one of the things? So there was a lot of things up there that wasn't even part of the budget that was supposed to be even voted on. So that was kind of a downer for me on that one. But truly, you have to believe on some new blood in here. I've seen a lot of you people around for a long time. I've been around here a long time. Lived here for 11 years, but I've been in the whole area 73 years. So, yeah, it's time to pay attention and let's get stuff done right. And I got one other question. Okay, you probably hear about it on the news once in a while. Are we a sanctuary city? Can anybody answer that? You don't know?
No.
Huh?
No,
We
we're
couldn't
not.
hear you. A sanctuary city?
No.
No.
You're not? Okay. That was a question I wanted to know. Thank you.
Thank you. So then we have David Deutsch followed by Steve Kinney.
Hello, my name is David Deutsch. I'm the director for the National Alliance on Mental Illness in Ventura County, also known as NAMI Ventura County. I just wanted to come here for a couple of minutes tonight to help make people become more aware, if they're not already, of what we do. We are the largest national grassroots organization, nonprofit organization. We offer classes to family members to help them understand more what their loved ones are going through. We offer provider education classes. We offer classes in the school system at the high school level for high school students called Ending the Silence, helping them to learn to recognize early warning signs of mental illness in their friends or family members. Parents and Teachers as Allies is another program we offer in the school to help teachers become aware of what they may see. We have additional programs as well. We have the family to family class also in Spanish, De Familia a Familia. We offer other services in Spanish as well. We are a relatively small staff, but we have a large volunteer force, and we have a lot of venues all over Ventura County where we offer the classes. There is never a charge for any of our services, never a charge for any of our classes. We have a large walk at the usually the first Saturday in May. This year it's actually April 30th at the Promenade in Ventura. That's our largest fundraising event of the year. And it's really from that event and contributions of other dedicated citizens that we're able to offer what we're able to offer at such a low operating cost. There's really only myself and 3 other full-time paid staff. Everybody else is volunteers. Most of our volunteers are people who have family members who have lived experience with mental illness. Some of our volunteers have had their own lived experience. 1 in 4 people at any given time in this country is experiencing some level of a mental health challenge. Often it's at the mild to moderate level and you wouldn't necessarily notice it. But 1 in 2 people over the course of their lifetime will experience some level of mental illness. 1 in 17 people experiences severe and persistent mental illness. So I just wanted to have the opportunity to make people aware of what we do. I am a licensed clinical social worker. I'm also a certified addiction treatment counselor. I was speaking briefly with Officer Lopez. He is a CIT trained officer, a crisis intervention trained officer. NAMI has been instrumental in Ventura County in assisting with the crisis intervention training. We have general meetings on the second Tuesday of every month, and Commander Mark Stadler, who's the head of the CIT program in Ventura County, is going to be speaking with a panel of CIT trained officers tomorrow night at our general meeting. If you go to namiventura.org, that's NAMI Ventura.org, you can see all of our programs. And I would like to leave my card and some of our literature with the clerk. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. And then we have Steve Kinney. If there's anyone else that wishes to speak at this time, you can allow to speak your card. Go ahead. Sorry.
Mayor, council members, city manager. My name is Steve Kinney. I live at 2512 Bay Bridge Court. I'm a past president and current board member of the Boys and Girls Club, and I'm here tonight representing our board of directors. You recall that we were here a couple months ago just to acknowledge the receipt, so to speak, of the building, and to tell you that we were kicking off the interior repairs to the building following your timely and generous improvements to the exterior of the building and grounds that happened before we took over the building. So I'm here tonight to let you know that as of a week from today, that club will be open for the kids of the community to come in and take benefit of the programs there at the clubhouse. So that was a long time coming and a struggle, but partnership pays off, and the result is we've got kids ready to walk into that clubhouse next week, Monday. It's what we would call a soft opening, so to speak, because we're going to have a more formalized and grand opening on December 10th. And you can all expect invitations to that when we want to do the more formal ribbon cutting and all that sort of thing. But we didn't want to wait till then to get the kids in there. So, you know, the important thing is that they get access to the services of the club. So that's going to happen starting next week. So as I said, the power partnership is really paying off here, and we really want to acknowledge our gratitude for what you have done to allow us to carry the ball forward from here. We are still involved in the fundraising efforts, and I want to acknowledge Gary Erickson, who is here tonight. You all know Gary's record of community involvement here in Port Hueneme that spans, what, 40 plus years? Am I giving away anything? But he's been involved since the beginning. I think the first president of the Boys and Girls Club here, and planning commission, et cetera, et cetera. And because of his involvement there, he's offered his professional fundraising expertise and services pro bono to the Boys and Girls Club. So we're relying on Gary to help us get the funds together to really make this a premier clubhouse into the future. So again, thank you very much for what you've done to allow us to get to this point. And please let everybody know, next Monday, we're hot.
Madam Mayor, if
All
I
right, thank you.
may.
Yes,
Mr.
Councilmember
Ken, if you
Vincent.
will, just for a quick second.
Sure.
I attended your documentary premiere last week.
Oh,
in
terrific.
Oxnard.
Mhm.
Totally fabulous. You folks do a lot with those kids. Thank you so much.
Well, that one in particular involved an amazingly generous and dedicated donor who made it all possible, but you know, it's relationships like that that just come up from time to time, and we try and leverage them to the best advantage, and you saw the results. I'm glad you were there.
Okay. Yes, Mayor Pro Tem Bruce.
Steve, how long was the Boys and Girls Club closed? Do you recall? Was it like 6, 8 months? Something like that? Maybe not that long.
No, it was longer than that.
Was it longer than that?
Yeah, it was over a year.
Over a year?
Yeah.
Because I know that the Boys and Girls Club there on Pleasant Valley Road was sorely missed by a lot of our families in the community. I heard some real hardship stories of people that the closure of that club negatively impacted their lives significantly. We have people in the community that rely on the Boys and Girls Club, and the good work that you folks do. I'm really impressed that you're getting the doors open this Monday, and the grand opening on December 10th. Is it daytime or evening? Do you know? Have you got that far yet?
I don't know.
Okay.
I'm guessing daytime, but
Yeah.
people more informed than I will be getting in touch with you.
I'm really impressed with the hard work that you guys are doing for the community. It's very noteworthy, and thank you very much.
Great. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you. All right, thanks. And then I have a speaker card for Martin Jones. So come up and state your name and address, and you have 3 minutes.
Good evening. I have lived in the city of Oxnard since 1970. I've known some members of this council for quite a few years. I have known John Sharkey over 20 years, before he was elected. I have never heard anyone say a bad word about John Sharkey, and I'm not about to begin to. This city has flourished in a corrupt-free kind of city. While living in Oxnard, I watched things that happened in the city of Port Hueneme, and I thought, you know, they got a great little city there. Under John Sharkey's period of time in office, this city has flourished. I will say this, anybody making allegations, insinuations, if they've got any evidence whatsoever, I will drive them personally to the district attorney's office.
Thank you. So do we have any other speaker cards? I think we're almost at the 30-minute. Is there one more? Okay. So state your name and address, and you have 3 minutes.
My name is Julie Rodriguez, and I live on 5th Street in Port Hueneme. And first I want to thank each of the 5 of you for this public service that you have vowed to take. It's not, as you can find, it's a thankless job at times, and yet you've each vowed to make a commitment to the citizens of Hueneme. And that being said, I'd like to ask that you fulfill those commitments. I've only lived here a short time, 5 years, and I am surprised within that 5 years of not only the recent behavior of the council, but also just the flux and changes within government staffing. There have been city managers that have come and gone. There have been police chiefs that have come and gone, finance directors in flux, and that worries me a bit because the only pillar I see left holding the roof is Community Development Director Brown, and it would be such a loss if we lost him too. So I am.
He's leaving in December.
No.
I didn't tell you.
With you. Well, if that is true that he's leaving in December, I thank him for the selfless years of service that he has given the city of Hueneme. This is a time of flux where our budget is still not resolved. And along with that budget, I see so many different expenses that have come about that I question, why are we funding these expenses when we don't have the money? I mean, one of the recent ones that I questioned was the Saturday public meeting to bring everyone together. We paid for a mitigator, and I thought, why are we paying someone when we have 5 adults who should be able to follow Robert's Rules of Order, who do not have to agree on every single item? The fact that there are differences of opinion is refreshing because it brings us to newer ideas and other solutions to our existing problems. So to spend money we don't have is also a concern. So I ask that you find ways to work together and that we not have all our laundry aired out publicly. I work in Santa Barbara, and I'm surprised when people ask me, what is going on in Port Hueneme? And I think they're talking about the budget and only find they're talking about you. So I ask, please put us in a favorable light before the media and before the community. But again, I thank you for having taken this oath of service.
Okay, thank you. Any other speaker cards? Okay, so we move on to, we are at the consent agenda 7A that was pulled. Mayor Pro Tem Breeze.
Want to approve the consent agenda less item A and a little bit.
Okay, all those in favor? Aye.
I abstain because of the cash disbursements, item 7B.
And Madam Clerk, I'm not sure I have an actual conflict, but I have an ongoing business relationship with Rincon Consultants, which would be item 7E. So I'll second, or I'll go along with the motion, but I'll have to abstain on that particular item.
Okay, thanks. So then, we've heard from the group, so 7A?
Yeah, 7A. Madam Mayor, I asked for the minutes to be pulled. Item 7A is the minutes from our September 21st meeting. And one of the items on that we discussed during that meeting was the irrigation systems in Hueneme Bay. And before we discussed that issue, we talked about Mr. Hensley living in Hueneme Bay and his need to recuse himself. The FPPC has a regulation that if you live within a certain distance of something that the city is going to do where it spends money, you, as a council member, have to recuse yourself from the issue, so that there is no potential for
The conflict of
conflict of interest. Thank you very much. But Mr. Fig, I understand that you own a home in Hueneme Bay. Is that correct? Am I mistaken there?
I recently purchased, I think it was the end of August. So if you think that I improperly acted, I certainly didn't do it intentionally, and if you'd like me to, actually I voted against the item, so I actually worked against my best interest, I guess. Wasn't even thinking about it.
That's the reason I pulled this before we adopted the minutes to give you.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I'll be glad to withdraw my opposition.
Well, the FPPC has their rules.
I'm sorry, this is not, the vote's already taken, this is just to approve the minutes at this point.
Well, the FPPC has these rules and regulations to ensure that we have full transparency. And we have had a discussion right before this item as to who lived there or owned property there, and if there's a way that Mr. Fig can rescind his vote, or I guess there's not, huh?
Would you like me to vote in favor?
The way you voted doesn't matter.
No, what I'm saying is that that's the irony.
The point of the matter is that...
I'm sorry, so I defer to the city attorney. Is there a way that I can clarify? Because I was simply unaware.
Excuse me, let's have Mayor Pro Tem Breeze finish, and then we'll let you, Councilmember Fig.
FPPC has rules for transparency that are significant, and if there's a way we can, Councilmember Fig can rescind his vote. If not, then he would be in violation of FPPC regulations. Sorry about that.
Am I being asked a question then?
Yes.
Well, there's no way this evening that vote can be changed, it's just approving the minutes.
Okay, well, there's some...
If I might, Madam Mayor?
Yes, Councilmember.
Please file for the complaint if you like. I'll be glad to defend my opposition vote to something that could have helped me, I guess, if that's what you're saying. So I'll be glad to defend a claim if you'd like to file one. And Mr. City Attorney, if you'd like to do that, that's fine.
Well, I just think it's important that we have full transparency here and that the public know what's going on, and I think
Thank you, I appreciate that.
We made it transparent, and the way you voted doesn't matter. The fact that the regulations refer to participating in the issue.
I appreciate you bringing it to my attention.
Okay, so with that then, we have 7A, approval of minutes as it stands. Is there a second?
Yeah, I'll second.
Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
I abstain because of 7.
Oh, no, Jim, we're just doing 7A. We've already covered the consent agenda, so we're just using the whole. Okay. Okay. Very, very good. I hear you. Okay. So now we move to item 8, and I'll open.
Excuse me, Madam Mayor.
Yes.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear your vote.
Oh, yes.
Okay, thank you. Thanks. So at this time, we'll open 2 concurrent meetings. We'll open the Port Hueneme Surplus Property Authority special meeting tonight for November 9, 2015. May we have the roll call, please?
Commissioner Good?
Here.
Commissioner Hensley?
Here.
Commissioner Sharkey? Vice President Reese?
Here.
President Schnapp?
Here. We have the agenda in front of us.
Move to approve.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? All right. We move on to the consent agenda, item number 3.
Move to approve.
Is there a second? So, okay. So we have to move on this and then come back. Okay. So there was a second on this one? I didn't hear a second. All seconded. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Abstain?
Abstain on consent agenda? Okay. So then let's open housing. Fort Hueneme Housing Authority, the adjourned regular meeting for November 9th, 2015. We have, may we have the roll call, please?
Member Fig?
Here.
Member Hensley?
Here.
Member Sharkey?
Yeah, present.
Member Straley?
Here.
Vice Chair Breeze?
Here.
Chair Schnapp?
Here. We have the agenda in front of us.
Move to approve.
Is there a second?
I second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstain? All right, and then we have the consent agenda.
Move to approve.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? All right, so we come back then for the adoption of fiscal year 2015-16 annual budget, and we have Mr. Burrell.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and to the rest of the council. I have a very short presentation because we have had several budget workshops, so don't want to go back over all of the budget workshops we've had in the past. The first item is from the August 31, 2015 workshop. And near the middle of this page, you can see thank you. There's an estimated budget deficit of $2.1 million. That's what we thought the deficit would be at that point in time. I'd like you to pay attention to a little further down. There were some items that addressed the deficit, and the 3 main items were potential concessions, further restructuring, and operational efficiency / contract services. Going to the workshop of September 21, 2015, the deficit was reduced to $1.8 million, and that was due to information we received from the state that we would get an additional $200,000 in sales tax. When we decided to really look at that 1.8, I was tasked with trying to figure out if that 1.8 was real or was our actual structural deficit more or less than the 1.8. The first method that we utilized, we were going to look at the actuals from 14-15 and compare it to the budget of the proposed budget of 15-16 to see if they were close. And if they were close, we would not go into the detail of every line item. But unfortunately, when we did that, the two were very far apart. I mean, it was like a 50% difference between the actuals 14-15 and the proposed budget of 15-16. So myself and the staff, we went through every line item of the general fund budget, and we compared it. We did a 3-year comparison. We looked at the actuals for the prior 3 years and looked at what was proposed in the budget for 15-16 to see what the discrepancies were. And if the directors couldn't tell us why the 15-16 budget was higher than the highest year they've ever spent in the prior 3 years, we used the actual expenses. And from that, we went department by department, and we were able to cut $496,000 off of the budget. So that's what those numbers up there represent in that methodology column.
May I have a question?
Certainly.
Mr. Burrell, yes. Mayor Pro Tem Reese has a question.
Al, you say you were able to go through each of the department's budgets and you came up with almost $500,000 worth of reductions.
Correct.
In the different departments. Will these reductions cause any reduced services to the community?
I don't think they'll cause reduced services to the community, and the reason I believe it won't is because, again, the budget is an estimate. We had the beauty of 20/20 hindsight. This budget is so late, we knew what the actuals were. So we didn't have to guess at what 14-15 was.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Go ahead.
Okay. I'm going to go to, and again, this is really short, but I'm just trying to make the point. I'm sorry about this slide, but I really owe an apology to the city clerk because it's mislabeled. This is an actual to budget comparison, and that's what I was saying, Councilmember Breeze. The actuals show that we had $1 million deficit, not a 1.6 deficit as what was proposed for 14-15 as far as the proposed budget for 14-15. So we actually, the actual structural deficit for 15-16 is really $1.4 billion. And I said, it sounds like it's not a lot, but that is a lot for us, a $1.4 million deficit. But when you look at where we came from, a proposed $2.1 million deficit, to us actually going through each one of those accounts and reviewing each line item, we have the actual structural deficit down to a 1.4. So just through that 2-month process of doing that, we've actually lowered the deficit by $700,000. And I purposely went short because I want to leave it open for questions. If there are any questions, I'm happy to answer those questions.
Okay, so, yes, Mayor Pro Tem. Sorry.
Mayor Pro Tem Breeze.
There's a number of financial issues floating around. One of them being the HUD requirement. Could you talk a little bit about that? And are the HUD numbers included in this deficit?
Can answer the second one for you. The HUD numbers are not included. This is just our
So we have a potential of having a higher deficit.
Yeah, one-time spending. We have that potential.
Are there any other potential financial obligations that are not included in this 1.3?
I think those you guys discuss in closed session.
Okay. Are there any other questions? Yes, Councilmember Sharkey.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, Mr. Burrell, we had, there were a number of one-time charges we faced last year. As we go forward, we just talked about, the potential liability there would be a one-time charge. What do we see on the horizon for one-time charges? Or anything to predict? Do we know what PERS is going to do? How about that?
We don't know with PERS. We know we will probably have an increase in PERS, but we don't know at this point in time what that number actually will be.
And, just as every other city in the state, nobody has a clue what PERS is going to do.
Not at this time.
Yeah, thanks.
Okay. Any other questions? Yes, Councilman Bruce.
Al, I apologize for hitting you cold with this question.
That's okay.
I should have brought it up earlier. But, I understand new accounting requirements require that we account for our retirement obligations. Pardon me? Unfunded liabilities for retirement obligations?
Yes and no.
Okay.
Yes, we are required for GASB 68 to report them. At this point in time, they haven't required us to actually fund the whole obligation. But I can tell you, if they're asking us to report it, at some point they're going to ask us to fund it.
Right. So is the reporting of those unfunded liabilities somewhere in our budget?
That is not, the additional cost is not in our budget.
But the reporting of it?
The reporting of it, we've already paid for the reporting.
I will say, Councilmember Breeze, that in the budget message, there are references to the pension obligation bonds and some of the audit reports that we've had done recently through Bartell and Associates and is it Villiger Dempsey?
Right.
So that information is in the budget.
Okay, again, I apologize for hitting you.
That's okay.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, are there any other questions for Mr. Burrell? Thank you so much for working very diligently to put this information together for us. And I'll entertain a motion here.
I'll move to approval.
Okay, is there a second? Oh, there is actually a speaker card. Hold on just a moment. Yeah. Oh, no, that's for item number 9. We're on 8. Is that okay? Is there, do you have something? No? Okay, all right.
All right, so I will move approval of all resolutions.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I would like this, I'd like to state this with a qualification. We've labored a long time trying to get this budget done. It's left us in peril. It's left the public questioning what we're doing. I have the fullest confidence in the integrity of Mr. Al Burrell. And in going through this, there's a lot of issues that could be fixated, I think, and clarified better. And I'm hoping that we have means to adjust this as we go through. But in the sake of expediency, coming to a closure, and appreciation for Mr. Burrell's skills and expertise, I second that motion.
Okay, so we have a motion seconded. Any further discussion? All those in
Yes,
favor?
I do.
Yes, go ahead, Councilmember.
Kudos. You walked into quite a mess, and you did a commendable job. My issue with the budget has nothing to do with your good work. My issue has to do really with the whole concept of transparency and forging a budget strategy in the long haul. How do we get out of this morass? I've made suggestions, I've offered constructive solutions, I've pointed out shortcomings in the budget structure itself, and by and large, those haven't been fixed. So I'm really struggling with the urgency, I understand that, to move forward so that we don't delay important capital improvement projects. And yet at the same time, in good conscience, I can't vote for it because it has failed to meet the smell test. And when I talk about transparency, these are some of the issues that I'm concerned about. I asked, for instance, a breakdown of our legal expenses and how we're budgeting for legal expenses. And what I've learned in the last fiscal year, about a quarter of our deficit is attributable to legal expenses. Some $450,000 overall, and about $375,000 of that is chargeable to the general fund. I can't tell in this budget what we can anticipate in the way of legal expenses. I asked about each program that we're funding, whether it be the Chamber of Commerce, whether it be the museum, a host of types of programs that we subsidize, we underwrite. You can't find it in the budget. I asked for that, and again, I'm not directing this to you. You're doing what you were directed to do by the city manager. I understand that. So please don't take offense to that, because again, you've done a yeoman's job in putting this thing together. We also have a problem with discretionary expenditures. We have very broad categories that we categorize our expenses. There's no way of knowing how much money is being allocated to individuals on this council or independent departments as to travel expenses, conferences, contract services. None of those are itemized. Those are the sort of things that when I say transparency, you pick up the budget and you can't figure those things out. There's also some legal questions, and I'm really not at liberty to go into those, and I fully expect that they'll be vetted over time. So I wanted to explain my position. I understand the urgency to move forward, but in good conscience, given those circumstances, I cannot vote yes. So I'm going to abstain on this vote.
Madam Mayor, is there any
Yes.
speakers cards from the public?
No,
that
there
wants to-
isn't, sir.
You don't want any speakers in this?
No, I don't have any. I have item
Oh,
number 9.
okay, thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
That's what we cleared a few minutes ago. But,
Well, I have-
okay, so.
Madam Mayor, I'm sorry.
Yes.
I have a hearing aid, 25% hearing loss, and sometimes I don't hear certain tones of female voice. So I don't mean to offend you. I thank you so much.
Okay, so are there any speakers right now for this item? If not, then we'll move forward. There is a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed?
Madam Mayor, I call
Yes.
for a
Voice vote? For roll call?
roll call
Okay.
vote.
All right. Madam City Clerk.
Councilmember Fig.
Abstain.
Councilmember Hensley.
Yes.
Councilmember Sharkey.
Yes.
Member Straley. Mayor Pro Tem Breeze.
Yes.
Mayor Schnapp.
Yes. Okay, so the majority has it, and then we will go back to housing, finish that.
Madam Mayor, if you don't mind.
Yes.
If I'm not out of order, I'd
Yeah.
like to address some of what Councilmember Fig brought up.
Sure, go ahead,
Because I
Mr.
think
Burrell.
there are really some good explanations for some of the items he brought up.
Okay.
One, I understand what he's asking and what he's asking for, but we had some very unusual circumstances that occurred. In fact, we were so short, we had to bring a retired member, person who just retired less than a year ago, back to help us to try to get through some of the issues. We not only had a director leave, we had the budget manager leave. We were really, really short-staffed, so it wasn't like we were not going to get to these issues. We are. The second item I'd like to bring up is that we are so late in the process. This is November. December is a month away. That's the midpoint of our year. We do mid-year budget adjustments. So we're looking at adjusting this budget again in February. So we're really pushed. And you figure we adjusted in February and we're looking at starting on 16-17 budget in March. So there is a lot going on. And we are going to get to everything. I can promise you that. We are going to have the budget set up in a different way and presented in a different way than it is now. But because of the situation we found ourselves in, we did not have time to make those kind of adjustments and actually have a budget that we can actually work from. So I know that doesn't answer all of Councilmember Fig's issues, but I at least wanted to get that on the table.
Okay, all right, thank you very much. Okay, so then for housing, we are at open forum, number 4 on the agenda. Anyone wishing to speak to the housing board on any matter not on the agenda may do so at this time. Seeing none, and housing does not have a closed session, So we adjourned the housing authority meeting to be held December 7th, 2015 here in City Council chamber immediately following the 6:30 City Council meeting. We moved back to SPA. And we are at item number 4, open forum. Anyone wishing to speak to the Surplus Property Authority on any matter not on the agenda may do so at this time. Seeing none, and SPA does not have a closed session, so we adjourn the Surplus Property Authority meeting to be held January 11th, 2016 in City Council chamber immediately following the 6:30 City Council meeting. So we then come back to item number 9, City Council request of Councilmember Breeze. And being that he's excused himself, let's go ahead and take a 5-minute break and then we'll come back. Thank you. Okay. Mayor Pro Tem Breeze.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. I requested item 9A to be put on the agenda because I feel we have a significant issue relative to representation on our committee assignments. And I would like to have a discussion regarding that this evening. I'm very thankful that all of you are here. I was hoping more people would come because I think it's important to identify some of the issues that the city of Fort Hueneme is facing right now and some of the potential liabilities that we're looking at. And I think that representation on our commissions is vitally important. We had one speaker this evening who brought up that very subject. Actually, 2 speakers brought up the subject of how the city of Fort Hueneme is looking in the public's eye, and have representatives of this council out representing the city. It's important that we understand what their behavior is and what the liabilities are relative to that. So, Madam Mayor, if you have any speaker cards, I'd be interested to hear any comments on this subject before I get started.
Right, okay. There are 2 speaker cards, so each speaker gets 3 minutes. Come to the podium, state your name and address. We'll start with Stephen Gemma.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem, council members. For the purpose of my comments, I'm going to refer to the majority as being Mayor Munoz Snoop and Mayor Pro Tem Breeze and Jonathan Sharkey. And in my comments, I'll refer to the minority as Councilmember Hensley and Fick. The majority, when the elected leaders organized what was stated to be a team building exercise this past Saturday, I believe. They hired a management psychologist, Mr. Mathis. He's a city governance specialist, and he started the day very positively. He talked about conflict, and it's good, and he talked about 3 modes of conflict, which are passive, constructive, and destructive. And he cautioned all of you that he was going to lead a conversation to sort out your conflicts in a rational, respectful way. And I thought, this is going to be a really great day. He asked each member to express their expectations for the day. And I believe, if I'm correct, that Hensley and Breeze were able to express their expectations for the day. And then it came to Sharkey. And he didn't answer the question. Rather, he went into a long list of personal attacks, which was quite upsetting. And the majority has 40 years of service to this council. Make no mistake about it. The majority is responsible for today's current problems. You can't blame these 2 gentlemen. They didn't vote. for the policies and actions that led to the problems of today. They merely got elected a year ago. In the most recent election, Councilman Fig was the #1 vote getter, Hensley was #2, Sharkey was #3. So the majority may not like these results, but you gotta live with them. This is a democracy, it's not a political borough where we demand everybody agree on everything. So I don't think you can blame the problems of today on the minority, and it appears to me, Mr. Breeze, that you're trying to punish these two gentlemen because they don't agree with you. And I think that's appalling. This is America, and this is a democracy. So once again, I just want to reiterate that, make no mistake about it, today's problems were pretty much the result of the majority, not the minority. And the majority appears to want to punish the minority for having opposite views. And I think that's disgraceful. In 364 days, there'll be an election, and the voters will decide who gets to represent the city of Hueneme. And I would just ask you to express your policies, express your record, and stand on it. And there's nothing wrong with a 3-2 council. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have a speaker card for Stephanie House. So Stephanie, come up to the podium, state your name and address. 3 minutes.
My name is Stephanie House, and I live at 432 Reed Way in Fort Hueneme. And the prior speaker basically stole my thunder. I was at that 1031 session, and I was hoping that things would go smoothly and differences would be ironed out. And it became very clear very quickly that the facilitator was more of an agitator, that using his majority versus the minority, the majority was out to take a pound of flesh from the minority. Many accusations thrown out. You can't start a positive discussion with going through a laundry list of allegations and saying this has happened, this has happened, this has happened, this has happened. That pours water on the entire thing. The entire day was a waste of money. And now we're talking about a $1.4 million budget deficit. Just keep spending. We'll be, well, we're the laughing stock of Ventura County already. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, any other speaker cards? We're still on item number 9. All right, we come back then to Mayor Pro Tem.
I don't have a speaker card that I filled one out later, but...
Yes, so come up here, state your name and address, and before you leave, you need a speaker card to drop off with the city clerk. 3 minutes, sir.
My name is Philip Thomason. I live at 133 Mainsail Court. And I'm here because I'm interested in the city. I love the city. I ran for city council many years ago, as a matter of fact. But I was concerned when my outside of Hueneme friends started asking me about what's going on with the council, and then I read the newspaper reports, and I was appalled, of course, because I know some of you personally, I know others of you by reputation because I follow you in the newspaper. But what I'm hearing today is very disconcerting. And I would like for some of the people who have spoken to actually tell me what is going on and provide me with evidence of what is going on. And I would also like to hear from the council that if some of these things are happening, could you bring them to the attention of the public? And could you provide proof that things are happening? Because it's terribly upsetting to me to hear someone, well, the lady I think has gone now, make some of the allegations that have been made against people personally in this venue. And I think that's not constructive, it's destructive. And I think all of us who are here want a productive council that is respected because we want to be respected. So I would like to hear some of the people who are speaking and who have these allegations to provide proof. I'd like to know what they are. I'm not interested in hearsay, and I'm not interested in innuendos or personal relationships. I think all of you are professionals and you know how to act as professionals. I'd like to see that happen But I'd also like enough information to know if there is something going on there, I need to know so that I can vote differently, or so that I can be right here more often to question you and to just understand what is happening. Forget the allegations, forget the innuendos. Let's have some proof out here of actually what is going on. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, back to you, Mayor Pro Tem, please.
Yes, thank you very much. I'm going to be speaking for a little while. Not too long, but long enough. I heard a moan already. Because I think it's important to air some issues and to understand why I have a concern relative to our representation on our committee assignments boards. I've listened to everyone that wanted to speak, and I haven't interrupted, and I would ask the same from you. Hear me out. I ask the same from the City Council. We'll all get a chance to speak, and I ask that you let me finish my thoughts without interruption. I would appreciate that very much. I'm going to talk about a few things this evening. Let me get to my list. I'm going to talk about conduct by some council members, and I'm going to give you some examples. I'll tell you the examples that I witnessed myself, and I'll tell you if someone relayed the information to me. I'm going to talk about confusing positions, confusing staff and the public about who they represent. And I'm going to give you some examples. I'm going to talk to you about financial liability that the city faces because of the behavior of some council members. I'm going to talk to you about some legal issues, although that discussion will be short because I can't mention people's names because they have a right to privacy, but you'll understand what I'm talking about. And I'm going to talk about some financial issues that the city's facing and the loss of revenue. Now, we've had some speakers, I really appreciate this last speaker who said, if you have evidence, show me. Because there has been allegations flying around all over the place. A lot of allegations, and some of them are very, very serious. Which also lends to liability. Someone's making allegations against somebody, accusing them of significantly violating the law. No proof, no witnesses, no details. The city's responsible. You're responsible. That's who ends up going to be paying the bill. Now, we've had some other speakers talk about, you guys have had heartburn about these guys being elected since the election. I heard that at our meeting on Saturday meeting on the 31st, and I heard it twice here this evening. Let me tell you that nothing could be further from the truth. Nothing. That's wrong. It's wrong-headed, and I don't know, I don't know why, well, I do know why someone would say that. And it's our fault that Some people may think that. It's my fault. And I'll tell you why. Councilmember Hensley and Councilmember Fig, when they got elected, as I said on the 31st, was apprehensive, but a little bit excited. I have worked hard, extremely hard, to help these guys come up to speed, get to know the city, understand the rules. I've had them each over to my house a number of times. We've met for coffee. I've talked to them on the phone. And their behavior, no matter, they've received extra training. The city attorneys talk to them. But we haven't talked to you. We haven't let you know what's going on. Consequently, you're hearing allegations and all this kind of stuff from these guys, but you haven't heard anything from us. So all you know is what they've been telling you. So I can see how many of you might think that we've been hamstringing them and such. But it's not true. As I said, I have worked diligently to try and get along with these guys and try and help them out. But it's to the point to where the liability that's facing the city due to the behavior of these council people is I have a fiduciary responsibility to watch out for you, to watch out for the citizens, to watch out for the well-being of the city. I can't sit silent anymore. You need to know what's going on. There was an attempt made on the 31st to bring things to light, put them on the table. The meeting probably wasn't held the best way possible, but it exploded and didn't get anywhere. So I put this committee issue on the agenda tonight to give it one more shot. I'm going to tell you why I'm concerned about people who represents the city on our committees. I'm going to take Mr. Hensley first. Mr. Hensley has taken the position and claimed, since he was elected, that he's not a team member of the city council, he's a community activist. That's his claim, not mine. He claims he's a community activist. Well, I don't know about you, but when I voted in 2014, my ballot said council member. But apparently, that's not a concern to Mr. Hensley. Mr. Hensley has continually thrown accusations at staff since he's been elected. Let me give you some examples. Mr. Hensley has accused staff of conducting business in secret. Mr. Hensley has equated staff's behavior to Oxnard city manager relative to the misuse of funds. Mr. Hensley has accused staff of giving contracts to friends. Mr. Hensley has accused staff of intentionally providing misleading information to the council. Mr. Hensley accuses staff of collusion. Mr. Hensley always is throwing a bomb, whether it's an innuendo or a direct accusation. And he has demoralized staff to the level that I have never seen in any organization in my 50 years of working. We have staff members that are embarrassed to ride in a city vehicle down the street because they think that the citizens are looking at them and pointing at them. The productivity of staff is in the bucket due to accusations like that. Now, early on, I brought Mr. Hensley over to my house. I said, Jim, you can't do that. You can't accuse staff of stuff like that. If you have an issue, take it to the city manager and she'll work it out. That time when I did that, Mr. Hensley apologized to staff for doing that. I thought, good, we're making progress. But it hasn't stopped. It has continued and continued and continued. Another thing that Mr. Hensley said up at the dais here that irks me is one time we were having a city council meeting and the council was a little bit out of control and the mayor was trying to regain control of the council, and Mr. Hensley leaned over and said to her, "Will you stop nagging me?" During a council meeting. And Jim uses the words transparency. He throws that out like it's some kind of, you know, I bet he's said it 100 times. I've heard him say it 100 times. Lack of transparency, lack of transparency. It's like a cue word to incite the uninformed. The city has lack of transparency. Now, along with trying to help these two council members get up to speed and learn the city and how to conduct business, Mr. Hensley, I've had staff report to me that when he has interacted with them, he has behaved as if he's a representative of some other agency. They're confused. Recently, Mr. Hensley went to the League of California Cities meeting and introduced himself as Jim Hensley of the Port of Hueneme, come to the Banana Festival. I question who he represents. Maybe he doesn't think he represents the council. That's what he says. He wants to be a community activist. And he's all over the page. He's not representing you. Let's talk about financial liability a little bit. These accusations to staff now, Mr. Fig and Mr. Hensley can say what they want about me. I'm an elected official, and the law allows pretty much I can be attacked. I put myself in this spot when I ran to be an elected person. But our staff does not. Our staff deserves to work in a work environment that's not hostile. And that's the word I'm hearing, hostile work environment attributable to the behavior of these two people. Accusations, bullying, and like I say, we've remained pretty much silent on the issue, trying to work with them. So you haven't heard this side of the issue. All you've heard is that side of the issue, and from your perspective, it looks like now we're picking on them. We haven't liked them since they got elected. Not true. I have supported and endorsed many of the items, many of the ideas that these guys have come up with. Their ideas are not rejected, at least by me. I'm only one vote. Mr. Fig is a brilliant guy. He's smart. He's a hard worker. The ideas he came up with, the budget, 95% of them I appreciated and supported. He comes up with ideas all the time that are good. He's got a lot of experience. But his behavior is unacceptable. Staff feels like they're being bullied. He makes threats. Veiled threats of people's jobs if they don't do what he says. Who can work in that environment? Now, there's been mention of a lot of people leaving the city. Yes, there is. Some of them were going to leave anyway. Some of them said, well, who wants to work in this environment? I'm not sticking around here. We're going to have to be advertising to fill positions. Who's going to want to come here and work in this environment? Recruiting's not cheap. We're probably going to have to pay higher salary than normal to the city manager to come here and try and help us work through this if we can. There's more expense. My real concern, though, is the liability that the city's facing on all these accusations that's being thrown out. People have a right to not be accused of something unless someone can provide some kind of proof. Who was it that said, gentleman over here, I hear accusations, I don't hear any proof. That's right. There's tons of accusations coming out. Lack of transparency. You want me to go through them again? No proof. No details. Now the city's facing some potential lawsuits, and there may be more coming because of the behavior of some of these guys that I can't talk about out here. But let me tell you this. The city is insured by what's called JPIA, Joint Powers Insurance Authority. That's where a group of cities get together and they pool their money, and they have JPIA provides insurance for the city. It would not surprise me if the JPIA took a look at what our financial legal liabilities are because of the behavior that's going on here and cancel this. That would not surprise me. These liabilities are significant. Potential liabilities. And do you know what happens if the city loses its insurance? Nobody else will insure us. One incident, and we're bankrupt. Literally. This behavior is serious, and it needs to stop. And I've done everything I can to make it stop. The only thing I have left is you folks. And I hope by expressing to you the behavior of these guys and the liability that they're placing on the city, that you'll understand what's going on around here. We're not out to persecute them. I have no desire to harm either one of these gentlemen. But I do have a responsibility to the city of Port Hueneme. I want to talk about one more thing. When Jim and Bob got elected, they wanted to be on the committees. I'm sorry. Excuse me.
Bob, the other bad guy?
Yeah.
The other bad guy.
Sorry about that. When Jim and Tom got elected, they wanted to be on committees, and usually get a year or two's experience before you get on a committee, you get the feel for, local government, get to know. But I was anxious to help them get up to speed, get some experience, and I championed them to be on the Port Hueneme Water Agency Board. Councilmember Hensley's the board chairman. I was hoping they'd get experience and get to be working with staff and come on board, but again, the only thing coming out of Mr. Hensley's mouth is accusations to staff. One of the accusations was recently in the Citizens Journal, where it said that Mr. Hensley voted no for the city to have an opportunity of a $750,000 grant to help us resolve our water issues because Mr. Hensley did not want to vote for. Note that Mr. Hensley accused, and I'm assuming me, said just a council member, were you referring to me in that article?
I will answer you when I have time, sir.
Okay.
To be completed, I thank you so much.
Okay. Giving no bid contracts to friends of the council member. And I'm sure he was referring to a gentleman named Lynn Takaichi was the only action that day. I'm going to go back. Mr. Figg also voted no, but I believe he voted no for a different reason. It was a wrong-headed reason. I'll explain that in a minute. But he also voted no, caused the city to lose out on an opportunity for a $750,000 grant to help us take care of our water issues. Let me go back. I'm going to go back 20 years.
Really?
Hang on. It's worth it.
20 years.
I was serving as public works director back then, and when I was hired, city manager was Dick Belfont. One of the things he said to me, we have a water crisis. We're running out of water. The Ventura County Groundwater Management Agency had instituted a reduction in available groundwater to the cities. They had in place a program that reduced the city's available groundwater 5% every 5 years, and it had been in place for quite a while. And the city of Port Hueneme had no other water available to it other than the groundwater. And the reduction in the groundwater available to the city of Port Hueneme placed us in jeopardy of not having enough water to serve our citizens. Mr. Belfont, I don't know where he found him, but he hired Lynn Takaichi. Lynn is extremely knowledgeable in the water issues of Ventura County. He knows all the water players from Sacramento to San Diego. And Mr. Belfont charged us with coming up with a plan. How can we get Port Hueneme some water? Well, Port Hueneme owned a water allocation from the state water. We had no way to get it here. Lynn Takaichi, when we first put this program together, everybody from all the other water agencies and people I talked to in the cities, they all said, oh, that's going to take you 10 years to put that program together. Lynn Takaichi did it in 4 years. There are water contracts upon water contracts upon water contracts that the city of Port Hueneme has. Most of them developed during the period of putting together the Port Hueneme Water Agency and resolving our issue of not having enough water. The program also took care of the water quality issues that we had. And Lynn Takaichi is the one that put it together. You talk about legal binding water contracts. If you ever want to see some people fight, you put water issues on the table. It is very, very complicated. Very complicated. But Mr. Takaichi pulled all that together. We have contracts with Oxnard, we have contracts with Cayugas, we have contracts with the Navy, federal government, contracts with the Channel Islands Beach. And they're all intertwined, all the contracts. Anyway, what we did, what Lynn Takaichi put together, got Cayugas to build a pipeline to deliver state water to us. We built a treatment plant. This is the kind of stuff Lynn Takaichi comes up with. Lynn says, hey, let's build a water treatment plant and we'll put 3 of the most promising water treatment technologies side by side, feed them the same feed water with the same quantity of water. Let's call it a demonstration project. Nobody had done that before. Nobody knew how each of these treatment processes would really work as compared to the other. We had reverse osmosis, nanofiltration, and electrodialysis reversal. 1 MGD apiece running side by side. Same maintenance, same feed water, so that people could compare. Then he runs to the federal government, he says, hey, we want to put this demonstration project together. Federal government funded it. A lot of it. We have people from Australia, from Europe, from all over the world came here to see this water plant. We put the water data on the internet. People monitored us for years. That water project cost $37 million. But because of the efforts of Lynn Takaichi, due to grants and negotiating other aspects of water in Ventura County, the cost to the Port Hueneme Water Agency was only about $12 million. From 37 to about 12. And that $12 million was divided between the Navy, the Channel Islands Beach District, and the city of Port Hueneme. What we did was cheap, and we guaranteed our water supply for a long, long time. Then the drought hits. 20 years later, the drought hits. The governor cuts our allocation of state water by 25%. We call a meeting of the Port Hueneme Water Agency. What are we going to do? What are we going to do? I got hold of the public works director and I said, hey, get a hold of this guy, Lynn Takaichi. He's the most knowledgeable about our water issues. And he knows what's going on in Ventura County. Maybe there's something that we can partner with Oxnard or something. The public works director does. Gets hold of Lynn. Right away, the public works director is appreciative of Lynn's knowledge, and he signed him up on a contract to help him. We come to the Port Hueneme Water Agency meeting, and Lynn says, look, treatment processes, we're wasting about half a million, about 250 acre feet a year through our treatment process. Let's retreat that and gain that back. It's like finding free water. Who in Southern California can get free water, free additional water these days in this drought? Nobody that I know of. Lynn Takaichi came up with the idea. And he said, I think I can get you a grant to pay for about half of it. It's Grandville, you can get about $750,000. So we went to take a vote on it. Mr. Hensley, accusing me of being friends with Lynn Takaichi, votes no. And so did Tom, but I think for a different reason. He's wrong-headed. Tom's concerned about the cost of water, and he didn't want us to do another project. This is what I think. But what Tom failed to understand is that this project had a payback period. Free water, payback period of about 8 years. From that point on, free water, except for the cost of electricity. So his vote was wrong-headed too. But Mr. Hensley accusing me of wanting to give contracts to my friends, and he votes no. The community activist is so making up something about me being a friend and votes no on the city getting an opportunity for a grant. To me, no. With all the accusations floating around, and then he throws this one out there, and then costs the city money, no. My responsibility is to the city and to you guys. So I put this on the agenda, and I'm in favor of removing these guys for all the above reasons that I said from our committees. Try and mitigate the harm that they're doing. And that's why I put this on the agenda. Thank you for your time, and thank you for listening very much.
So,
Madam Mayor, we
yeah,
can have an
Councilmember.
opportunity to respond?
Sure, if you'd like.
Well, thank you.
Councilmember Hensley.
You sure it's okay?
Yeah, it's fine.
Thank you, ma'am.
Go ahead.
Let me,
Can you see what's going on here? I just
Yeah.
want to point that out. Go ahead, Councilmember Hensley.
Shame on you. Shame on you, Councilman.
let me reframe something first at the beginning, that maybe I'd spoken something that people didn't understand when I tried to explain to the mayor that I have a hearing problem. I spent 20 years in the military. And I said I don't hear certain female voices. In other words, what I meant to say is the frequency of the sounds that come into my ears are cut off in highs and lows. So I don't hear a lot of the higher frequencies, particularly in female voices. So it's no gender bias there whatsoever. And if there was any intent to it, I would like to go with that. I hope everybody understands. Also, let me go back to the start, and I'll try to keep it a lot shorter, okay? I have to give Mr. Breeze a lot of credit. He's good at spins, he's good at stories, and I'm surprised to find out that he so passionately dislikes me.
That's not true, Jim.
Did I interrupt you, sir? Okay, thank you. I'm sorry, I don't mean to be rude to you, okay, but I accorded you that opportunity also. From the get-go, Mr. Figg and I, when we were elected, there was rancor by the old city council. We moved 2 council persons, and both of us, Tom Figg and I, at least for me, we felt the city was going into a wrong direction. There was expenses are going up. The income that some of the employees make was probably a little over the top when you don't have a lot of money. Now, I understand going back to when the redevelopment funds was here, we could afford to pay $100,000 salaries. But when times get tough, sometimes you have to cut it down. Sometimes there's expenses that in tough times you have to cut off. We created a lot of hostility from the old guard, or the majority of board members, because we helped defeat Measure M. And I think that was rightly so. And Mr. Fig accuses me of being an activist, and yeah, I'm an activist. I get involved in my community. There's nothing wrong with that, and many of you out here are activists also. So I think that's commendable. Some of the things that was said here tonight is a typical spin. In other words, Mr. Breeze promised you that he would come out with a lot of hard facts and figures. He made a lot of accusations in very broad terms. I don't know of anybody on the staff that I've harassed. There was a concern one time that I might have bothered in an email that I sent to the city manager, which got to our public works director, Chris Twyson, that Mr. Breeze thought I was coming down too hard on him, and I apologized to him. And I hope he understood that I wasn't coming down on Mr. Tyson. It was directed towards the city manager. There's elements within this city that I've watched for the past almost year now. It's kind of embarrassing. I see funds spent. I see bids. Now, granted, I'm told by the city attorney that there are certain consultant bids that can go out without seeking competitive bids. But when I went to the JPIA, the Joint Powers Insurance Agency training last February, they were emphatic: if you have anything over $20,000, get competitive bids on it. Send out a request for proposals, okay? There's council members, apparently, and I'm not going to name them, but I think they've already done their own speaking, that do not like the idea of going out for bids. And that really created a lot of hostility. I was pleased and honored to be able to be put on the Port Hueneme Water Agency, because I've been on it before with the Channel Islands Beach Community Service District, and I like water. I'm interested in water. I follow water every way I can. So some of these things that, and I'm really surprised to say, keep being hammered that I'm harassing the staff. But yet another councilman said that I avoided the staff. So there's kind of an incongruent message. Am I avoiding the staff, or am I harassing the staff? All of my thoughts, and most people know me as kind of a gracious person, not all, but most. I haven't harassed the staff. However, there is a lot of problems within the staff, and I don't think Mr. Fig and I are creating those problems. I believe, and much to the disagreement of Mr. Breeze probably, I believe there's other persons in the high-ranking areas of this city that have created a lot of that rancor and the fear and the reason that they're leaving. I believe most staff persons who know me thinks that I'm halfway decent. I try to treat them decent. The city managers encourage me to stay away from staff people, so I usually stay away from staff people. Getting back to the JPIA, the Joint Powers Insurance Authority, and giving contracts out with no competitive bids, I don't feel, and he complains that I use the word transparency, but that was something that both Mr. Fig and I ran on, transparency in this government. And from what I see within this city, I don't see a lot of transparency. And it bothers me, and I try to bring it up. The newspaper, the Star, and other newspapers bring out the point that we haven't been transparent. But it breaks down to the accusation, the general accusations that Mr. Breeze has brought upon me, that I'm running the staff, I'm running the town, I'm running the city council, I'm running almost, I didn't know I was such a bad guy, okay? But what I've done, I'm not gonna sit here and jaw-jack a lot about it and tell a long, long tale. What I've done is I've put all of my stuff in writing, all of my points and facts, and I've submitted it off to the district attorney's office. So we'll see where the water flows after this point. And I'm sorry, Mr. Breeze, that you dislike me so much. Come on, what you just said about me is not true, and you know it. So that's a dislike. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Okay, so,
Taking further comment?
yeah, Councilmember Fig.
I'll be even more brief. Actually, Doug, I'm gratified that you were trying to help me. Actually, I was working hard to help you. A little bit of self-reflection, a little bit of what was the edict that came out of the election, stepping back from yourself and entertaining alternatives and new ways of doing things. So I'm a little disappointed that that didn't come across, because I've been working real hard to get you to move to center, and apparently I'm failing. I agree with you 100%. There's a lot of liability here, and it's personal as well as corporate. And I can't go into that discussion here. This is not the proper venue, and it will be disclosed in due course. Some of the liability could further damage this city. And so I have chosen not to comment to the press and others, because I want it to be fully vetted in the proper way, whether it's the grand jury, whether it's through personal liability in court, through civil action. Those are options that I am having fully explored. And so I'm not in a position here to engage in a kangaroo court. And I don't need to defend myself. I will say this about the water issue. One of the reasons, one of the foundations of my platform, my campaign, were the water rates. 3 years ago, the grand jury took the city to task and said, we have the highest rates of any municipal water provider in this county. So I dedicated myself, let's find a way to fix that. Let's not pick the pockets of our ratepayers any more than we have to. So along come some of these ideas, and I'm not ready to throw a lot of money into something that I don't know what the financial ramifications are. Nor should the residents feel that we should be putting money at risk. Secondly, regarding your grant, there was no great guarantee that that money would be available, but instead we were being asked to spend $155,000 to get a $750,000 grant that was no guarantee, and do it on a sole source basis. There was no urgency. There was never a guarantee that money, excuse me, Doug, there was never a guarantee that money was going to be available to us, nor did we know, if we did get that money, what it would translate ultimately to the end users, the customers, right? So, and remind the public, the Port Hueneme Water Authority is a separate entity from this city council. There are 5 members of that board. Jim and I don't control the vote. It takes 3 votes. So let's make sure, when you represent these things to the public, it isn't a Tom and Jim show. It's a Port Hueneme Water Authority show. So I offered and suggested a variety of cost reduction measures, which includes the competitive bidding of professional service contracts, so you get the best deal for your money. I suggested a variety of alternative treatments, but ultimately what I wanted to get to is to provide full disclosure to the ratepayers of what those options are. You should have the right to decide how much you're willing to pay for the quality of water you want to receive. What we found out is that now we're at record levels, that we're having to subsidize people that can't afford to pay their water bills. Why is that? Well, guess what? We have the highest rates in anywhere in Ventura County. So I have been advocating through the Water Authority not to stop the plant, but let's look at other alternatives. And most importantly, let's lay all that information out on the table and let the people decide. Not Mr. Breeze and his history and his attachment to his water plant. Let the people decide what they can afford and what they're willing to drink. So whatever becomes of this discussion, and if council, the majority council, I think of them as the gang of three, if they choose to remove us from the Water Authority, please come out like you have this evening and pay attention. Go to the Port Hueneme Water Authority and scrutinize everything that they're doing so that you don't find yourself on the short end of the deal. Now, he's been talking about the Water Authority, but there's another committee that I happen to be on. It's the Port Development Review Committee. And I was appointed in theory to that body because I have a history with the Harbor District through the various revenue sharing agreements that have recently been settled out. And I was intimately involved in that process. I wonder how the Harbor District would feel about my removal and one of the other members here, two of them, to go on to that committee. I leave it to the Harbor District to address that question. I don't want to speak on their behalf, but I can assure you that we have a great deal of lack of trust that we need to bridge. And by putting two of the gang of three on that committee, the same majority of incumbent council here that initiated a lawsuit against the Harbor District, that called them all kinds of names, and now we're asking them to trust the gang of three. Okay, I just want the public to be aware, these are the choices, this is the direction that the gang of three is going in, and you just simply need to be aware of it. Thanks.
Mayor, may I respond?
Yes, Mayor Pro Tem Breeze.
Yes, very shortly. The project that we were trying to work on the Port Hueneme Water Agency, as I mentioned before, would have resulted in free water. Free water equates to lower water rates, so that's why I say Mr. Fig's position was wrong-headed. Thank you.
Madam Mayor, if I
Yes,
may.
Councilmember.
Thanks, Mr. Breeze. I appreciate your comment there about the free water, but let's analyze it. We're spending how much money for this alleged grant that we may get? It's like me handing Tom Fig $150,000 and say, go to Vegas, and I expect you to come back with $2 million or $3 million, okay? The whole point being is, and this is just my personal observation, Mr. Attorney, this is my personal observation, that there's Mr. Breeze in particular, but the other two council persons, the gang of three that Mr. Fig categorizes them as, do not like the two new members are coming in with two new ideas. And to stop us, because we wouldn't go along with the votes the way they wanted. They keep saying team. You know, we talk team. We had a team building. It didn't work out too well. Team means you think in an organization, okay? When I was in the military, we had a team. If we went out on a mission, everybody had a job and that was it. No messing around, no different directions, no ideas. It was controlled. But in government, it's a cohesion of different ideas and concepts, different thoughts, different backgrounds, different interests. Mr. Fig and the other gang of three, I guess I could call them, thanks for your term, do not like the two new guys that came on board. They do not like our ideas. They want us to think in group think. Government should not be group think. We're free people. And that's why you guys voted to represent you. And what they're doing is trying to take a vote, and they're going to do it very soon, to block a lot of our representation, so we can't represent you on the Port Hueneme Water Agency or the Port Authority. So, thanks. I appreciate everybody coming on. I think it's absolutely great. My other comments will be following along probably from the District Attorney's Office, and we'll see what it takes from there. Thanks so much. I appreciate everybody coming on.
Yes, Councilmember Sharkey.
I would like to get to specifics. Mr. Hensley, you were quoted in the Citizens Journal as saying numerous contracts have been given to friends of city councilmen. Would you please tell us which contracts those are so that we can investigate?
Okay, very good, thank you. I don't know if that's the exact word, Mr. George Miller is here. Is that my exact words?
I have a copy of the article if you'd like to read it.
It's not that necessary. Mr. Sharkey too has a way of kind of spinning in his own direction.
I'm just asking.
I'm not interrupting you, sir. Thank you so much for I appreciate your extra comments and your due diligence, but may I not have the floor?
I would like you to delineate which contracts have been given to friends of councilmen.
Are you through, sir?
That's my question.
Are you through, sir?
That's my question.
I understand that's your question. Are you through now?
Are you ready to answer, sir?
Yes, when you keep quiet, sir. Thank you. Thank you so much.
So there is a question. Go ahead and answer.
Yes, the question being is that we had $79,500 water consultants when Mr. Fig and I first came on, the Port Hueneme Water Authority. There was $18,000 the ad hoc committee had already issued out to water consultancy. Okay. Mr. Estamo from the Port Hueneme Water Agency, or Port Hueneme Channel Islands Beach Community Service District, became concerned about it. Then we came back for, I think, another $47,000 or 20, various big amounts that was just kind of arbitrarily applied for and awarded. And finally, it got down to the point, the big jump was for another $129,000, or coming to a total of $129,000. And at that time, we mustered enough votes to say, no, we just can't go handing out these kind of bids without these kind of contracts without competition. And that's what the JPIA instructed me to do, anything over $20,000. Now I'm being castigated for insisting what the JPIA says. And those were that was issued out. The constitution of this process is really embarrassing. I'm surprised to see this in public government. And there is a serious flaw within this city government. And I hope it's going to be cleared up.
Okay, Mr. Hensley, I asked you a very specific question about contracts.
Yes.
And who is the friend that has received these contracts?
I believe, thank you for your comment, I appreciate that. Who is the friend, the alleged friend, okay, the alleged friend. I just got through here, Mr. Breeze talk quite eloquently about Mr. Lynn Takahashi. I hadn't mentioned his name before, but it's water consultancy principal. And I'm trying to be very careful here, so in my opinion, Mr. Attorney, Mr. Takahashi has just been played up well as the guy who walks in water practically, that deserves these. And the ironic part about it, if I may, real quick, Mike, we want to spend another $2 or $3 million in a second pass RO system, reverse osmosis system, to capture 50% of the brine water that leaves the first. We have one minor problem. If you guys drink water here in the city of Port Hueneme, you know it's so bad we cannot put it through our first osmosis system. It plugs up the filters and damages the filters.
I have to, you're filibustering my time.
Oh, geez, I'm sorry, Mr. Sharkey. I really appreciate it. I just told you, sir.
Okay, so the next question is...
I'm not taking your interrogations, okay? Thank you so much. You're a gentleman and a scholar. I appreciate it.
Take all the time you need.
Thank you, sir. The basic thing,
Go ahead.
you're so kind.
Thank you.
The basic thing that I'm trying to talk about is we want to spend an exorbitant amount of sum that we don't even know if we can't get the water through the first reverse osmosis phase, how we're going to do with the second osmosis phase. That's why Mr. Fig says we have to open up to other ideas too. So thank you so much. Mr. Sharkey, would you please quit interrupting me? Go ahead, guys, take your votes, okay? This is what you guys had planned on Saturday, last Saturday, to try to corner us and beat us up, and now you're using this forum to continue that effort. Thank you so much.
Mr. Hensley, if you're accusing people of felonious behavior, contract interference, then you need sound evidence to do so. And if that's
Mr. Sharkey, I just told you, thank you for your question, I appreciate it, and I'm glad that you asked that, but as I said, I've put all this stuff in paperwork and submitted to the district attorney, and I'm not going to go further than that, so don't try to badger me into something, okay? Thank you.
This is not badgering, I just want to get to the facts and to get to what you meant exactly when you said numerous contracts were given to friends of a council member.
You will find out when the district attorney's report comes out. Thank you so much. I refuse to answer any more of your preposterous.
Yeah, there's talk about spin. This is being spun as folks that are not happy with the election results. Baloney. I'm going through a lot of elections. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose, sometimes serve with dozens of people, sometimes you get along with them, sometimes you don't. That's not what this is about at all. It's not about policy. It's not about debating what's technical contracts at the water agency. That's not what it's about. The fact of the matter is we expect, as an employer, I'll just put it out very bluntly, as an employer, if you have employees that come to you and say they're concerned about the conditions in the workplace, and they feel harassed, and they express concerns to their personal safety, maybe they're right, maybe they're wrong. Maybe they're justified, maybe they're not justified. But as an employer, and anyone who's an employer, you understand this. You have to take those kinds of accusations very, very seriously. And you have to act on them, and you have to investigate. And if you're getting more than one, then you know you've got a problem. And this isn't about policy. This is about what's happening to our employees. And since this election, I will say we've had an endless stream of political attacks. The election hasn't stopped for some people. There's been a lot of grandstanding. There's been a disinformation campaign that's bordering on the libelous. The police budget was not cut by 50%, folks. And I know that's been put out there. That didn't happen. There's been a continuing campaign of personal destruction aimed at the city manager. It's been undermining the efforts of staff and bullying the employees. And some of this I know from personal observation, some of this I know from talking to our employees. Bullying the employees. And you can't treat people like that. I don't care if you're right. I don't care if you think you're God Almighty. You cannot treat people like that. And it's going to stop. It's going to stop.
Oh, no, please.
Okay, so, Councilmember Breeze, what would you like to do here?
Well, the airing of the issues tonight, I think we're good. As I said earlier, I have supported a lot of the ideas and issues that Councilmember Fig and community activist Hensley have put forward. I have no problem with new ideas, thinking out of the box. But I do have a problem with unfounded accusations, intentionally trying to shoot holes in the boat. I would make a motion that we reconsider the assignments of Councilmembers Fig and Hensley and replace them on their committees. And I do that with the best of intentions. I do that not to pick on them. I don't want to fight. But I do it because I think it would be in the best interest of the city. So I would make a motion that would remove and replace council members Fig and Hensley from their committee assignments.
Second.
Okay. Any further discussion? Could we have a roll call vote, please?
Councilmember Fig?
No.
Councilmember Hensley?
No.
Councilmember Sharkey?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Breeze?
Yes.
Mayor Schnapp?
Yes.
Boo.
All right, so as we've moved this, should we make the changes to the appointments now? Because I know that we have a couple of board meetings coming up soon. So we have a list in front of us, and we'll go down the list. So where we will replace Fig as an alternate is the beach.
Remember,
Yes.
can we start with animal services?
Sure.
You know, Mr. Breeze, I know you've attended several of those. Originally, I took that position with some reluctance. It's Thursday's hard for me. Would you care to swap positions on that?
Sure, I'll take animal services.
Okay, so we're just swapping the representative and the alternate. Okay, so moving on to the Beach Erosion Authority, which is Beacon.
It's on Friday mornings in Carpenter.
It's on Friday. Excuse me, sir!
Man.
These people are making inappropriate comments. I can't hear what you guys are talking about. There's like people making
Okay,
inappropriate
so
comments.
if you want a discussion, you can go outside, any one of you, please. Thank
No, I
you.
want to hear what's going on. I just can't hear because they're continuing talking.
So, okay, so if anybody is disrupting, then you
Thank
can
you.
step outside and take on that discussion. Thank you. Okay, go ahead. So we are at beach erosion, and alternate Fig needs to be replaced. Is there a volunteer?
You'd be good for it.
Sure, I'll take
Okay,
that.
okay, thank you. Joint powers and insurance, it stays the same, correct? All right. City Port Standing Committee, it's Breeze and Fig with alternate Hensley, so we need to replace 2. So I will take that if you don't mind. Okay, so would you like to be the alternate? Okay. EDCBC, I am the representative, the alternate Fig, who wants to be the alternate there.
I'll do that.
Okay. Port Hueneme Water Agency, we need to replace 2. Yeah, so that would then be that
Both of you would have.
both of us would be on there. And I believe those are the changes. Any other suggested changes on the? Okay, all right, so we've made the changes there.
And
Yes?
for PHWA, you're currently the alternate?
Yes, so we would both, the 3 would be serving, would be Mayor Pro Tem Breeze.
There would be no alternate.
Right, there would be no alternate. So we would be Mayor Pro Tem Breeze, I as the mayor, and Councilmember Sharkey. Okay. So moving on to item number 10, Councilmember reports, comments, and requests for future agenda items. I do have a request to add something to our future agenda, and that would be to review our council norms at the next meeting. Okay. Are there any other comments?
Do you want me to make comments on my activities this last week?
Sure, yeah, this is the
I
time to do
understand that obligated sort of do that. But if you don't want me to, and keep it short, I'll...
No, Councilmember
Thank you
Hensley,
very
you
much.
can make your
Thank
comments
you,
here.
Madam Mayor. October the 5th, 10 a.m., Rancho Campaneras Campañas High School, Camarillo, opening ceremonies and high-tech learning centers and all the event. It was really interesting. They're doing something different in education. October the 7th, 7:30, Regional Defense Program 21 presentation by Regional Defense Admiral following discussion of various related military and civilian organizations' activities, no fee. October the 7th, 1:30 p.m., preliminary private interview with Dr. Mel Mathis, team building. October the 8th, 9:30, Friends of the Bard Mansion Foundation, Directors Meeting, no fee. October the 8th, 11:30, Ventura County Engineers Association PowerPoint by Project Posidon, the director. Almost a $300 million project with over 40 miles of large pipe installation for delivery purposes. Expensive project. Mid-range problem that Posidon, which everybody has probably heard quite a bit about it, very unique plant built by the Israelis. The problem is, it uses first-time pass-through water from the adjacent electrical power plant. And in 2020, state law is going to make them probably close down. That's going to be standard state law. So they've spent $300 million and they may have to come up with something different by 2020. October the 10th, Port Hueneme Museum, The Cristo Revolution by Mayor Munoz Snaps. Interesting discussion and PowerPoint of what happened to a religion down in Mexico and dictatorships. October the 13th, 3 p.m., attended the Jesus Torres candidate announcement for district supervisor, Santa Paula Coffee Shop, no fee. October the 14th, 8 a.m., the Future Technology Conference, Crown Plaza Hotel, primarily put in by energy-related firms like Commercial or Continental Breakfast, no fee, but I am going, in my filings, I'm going to post a contribution by the related, it was put on by the oil companies. Estimated value of $35. October the 15th, 7 a.m. And I hope I'm not boring you, but our city clerk expressed that I need to do this. 7 a.m. AWA Waterwise Breakfast Meeting report on water overdraft causing sinking land in Central Valley related problems of water short for crops. $35 fee. October the 16th, 11:30, luncheon at CSU-CI by Martin V. Smith Business Foundation, U.S. economy balanced with international aspects, including slow but growing benefit to our local economy. No fee, because I'm a member of the CSU-CI Foundation. October the 20th, 7:30 a.m., AWA monthly water issues, update on state and local water issues. This is an early morning thing, including reports from individual water agency, no fee. October the 23rd, 5:30 p.m., Mexican American Bar Association Awards and Scholarship Gala. Dr. Mandy Lopez and Irma Lopez was the Outstanding Citizen of the Year, and 6 scholarships is awarded for scholarships to go to college. Law college, I should say. October the 25th, 11 a.m., La Hermandad annual awards banquet. Heather Lacayo, now board member and master of ceremonies, no cost to the city. It was a $35 fee, but it was traded for the advertising that I do in Jim Hensley's events law. Post-transaction for the year, though. October the 25th, 1 p.m., Sophomores Bras for Causes. It was kind of an interesting thing, a lot of ladies there. Cancer problems for women. Anyway, it was $50 fee, but they traded the event advertising for my Jim Hensley's event log, so it's a zero for the city. October the 26th, 5:30, Port Hueneme board meeting. Board took reports, consultant reports when proceeded to discuss grant received and general businesses, no fee. October the 27th, 5:30 p.m., Port Hueneme Chamber open house at Ventura County Credit Union, $5 personal expense out of pocket for cancer. October the 28th, 11:30 a.m., AWA luncheon and depth discussion on quagga mussels, particularly in Lake Peru. And these guys just go crazy and breeding, you can't stop them. So there's a real serious problem. October the 29th, Ormond Beach Task Force, discussion of Oxnard Coastal Plan by Dr. Williamson. As much as it pertains to the Ormond Beach wetlands, I'm a 12-year member of the Ormond Beach Task Force, no fee. October 31st, 8 a.m., Dr. Mathis's team building exercise. I departed earlier because of threats of possible litigation if I didn't watch myself. October the 1st, 5:30 p.m., Boys and Girls Club, premiere of the Boys and Girls Club documentary, excellent film, no fee. November the 3rd, 7:30 Regional Defense Program, Captain Mike Santamoro, Commodore for the Naval Test Wing, Pacific Naval Air Warfare Center Defense Division, no fee. And November the 4th, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m., the Association of Water Agencies water facility tour throughout Ventura County. Thank you so much. And I'll pass this over to the city clerk so she's got it.
So, are there any other council member reports, comments, or requests at this point? Okay, so then we move on to closed session. Mr. City Attorney?
Thank you, Mayor and Council. The council will meet in closed session this evening. With regard to item 11 on the agenda, we will not be meeting under A or item D, but will be meeting under item D, pursuant to 54956.9D2. There's two potential anticipated litigation matters. One is related to the HUD issue. Has been explained before, where the city facing potential $2.4 million liability from HUD. The second is there are facts and circumstances that are unknown to potential claimants that the city may have liability for. And finally is public employment employee appointment pursuant to Government Code Section 54957. The city
Okay, so we'll go into closed session at this point, and then after that, we will adjourn to the regular meeting to be held November 16th at 6:30 here in Council Chambers. Thank you.